Let's speak to Sophie McQueen now, SABC's international editor. Thank you for being with us, Sophie. So this is about to get underway and the country is seemingly tense. It was a very close election. Da Silva formally put in jail. Now the president again, apparently some of his detractors, some of his opponents even wanting the military to take control to prevent Da Silva being inaugurated. In this sort of environment, what do we expect his first words to be when he is inaugurated later tonight, our time?
Well, we expect him to kind of extend a hand of reconciliation and friendship to those who didn't support him, and also to indicate that he is the president of all the citizens of the country, Brazil. We also expect him to touch on the current political challenges that we are facing around the globe, including the economic problems that we have experienced around the world since the outbreak of COVID-19 and, of course, the war in Ukraine. And we are going to hear Lula talking about strengthening the South-South cooperation and also BRICS, and not excluding Africa, with a high-powered delegation of African leaders who have been invited, and some sending their representatives in form of ministers of foreign affairs. In South Africa, we know that the Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, is there, but also Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who was invited in a private capacity as the former AU Commission chair, because he wants to strengthen the relations with Africa.
Well, on that note, could we even see Da Silva come and visit South Africa? Does this augur well for relations and our involvement in BRICS as South Africa takes the chair?
This is a better time for South Africa and Brazil. We know that Bolsonaro was more west-looking and also looking at Donald Trump at that time when he was president as a mentor and a person to emulate in terms of policies and pronouncements. And Bolsonaro was not that committed to the South-South cooperation, much as he continued to attend the BRICS meetings. But the BRICS group became a bit shaky with both Brazil and India. Both countries were too focused on the West, and particularly looking up to America for guidance. And we know that with Lula coming from the labor background, a socialist, the South-South will be the main group, the G77, and also the BRICS nations, the BRICS group. We know that today, starting from today, South Africa is now the chair of the BRICS group, and therefore we expect him to attend the BRICS summit in South Africa in August later this year, where we know that President Ramaphosa will be hosting his counterparts from those countries, even though it's not clear whether President Putin will attend due to the geopolitics and the war in Ukraine. But I am pretty confident that Lula will make his trip down south for that BRICS meeting. We know that he did attend the Egypt Sharm el-Sheikh meeting of COP27. He was there as president-elect, so he has been on the continent already. I can't see him not attending the coming BRICS summit in August this year.
All right, we're bringing to you live visuals from Brazil as that inauguration is about to get underway. A packed stadium ready for that event. And Sophie, their foreign policy is so different. At COP27, Da Silva already saying he will save the Amazon and accusing his predecessor of ecological crimes. How do they differ? What can we expect in terms of foreign policy in other areas as well?
Foreign policy, he will subscribe to multilateralism. He's going to emphasize the importance of multilateralism, starting with the world body, the United Nations, and looking at the groups, that region, but also South-South, as I pointed out, the G77 as partners, and of course the G20. You know that Brazil is part of the G20, and we expect him to have a strong voice speaking on behalf of the poorer nations as a person whose ideology are more socialist with the labor background. And I think this will overwhelm countries such as China, countries such as Russia, South Africa, of course, being part of the G20. And I think the call for G20 to admit AU as a permanent member of the G20, it will gain traction with a leader like Lula being part of that, and we've already had President Joe Biden supporting that proposal by President Cyril Ramaphosa. So I think we are going to see the foreign policy anchored around peace, development, revival of the global economy, but looking at South, and particularly the BRICS nations and the continent.
All right, thank you very much. Sophie Mokoena, SABC's international editor, and you saw those cheery crowds. Those were live visuals coming to us from Brazil. But make no mistake, security is very tight given the considerations because of the security threats over the last few days.